Warren Buffett is buying UNH, and we're going to talk about how next week is critical for stocks. It is Friday, August 15th, 2025. If you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. Helps out the channel a lot. You guys are awesome. Also, come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts analysis, live day trading. We're going to talk about some trades here that we've talked about even on this channel recently, and we'll get into a lot more. I'm going to do a little bit of a different format here today. If you guys caught the short video I did this morning, I said that I would cover UNH, and I will do that. Last night I had to do a little bit of a deep dive on this just out of curiosity, but we'll talk about stocks here for just a minute, and then we'll get into that. But I'm going to keep it a little bit different format here today, maybe slightly change it up just a little bit, because it is Opex day, and I mean, this is there's a reason why I don't like trading these sessions. They are just notoriously bad. So very, very, it's the pin, right? So we're pinned right to no man's land, just above 64.50, and Spider is really kind of in no man's land here. LG1 is 645 really all day, but we're kind of right now just above halfway between that and 640, which are the major strikes right now. QQQ, we figured would close below 580. That did. You can see NVIDIA here. We're at the whole round number 180. So this is consistent pretty much across the board on a lot of things. Eli Lilly right at 700, right? These are not a coincidence here. So nonetheless, quiet stuff in the stock market today. Little gap up and a dump. Didn't get to 6,500. Couple of things to consider over the weekend. Putin has landed in Alaska, so he will be meeting with Trump. Again, I know, deals and stuff are a long shot, but again, this market, the way that it's, the track record, especially of this administration, all they have to do is say, like, progress made, better than expected, right? And, it wouldn't surprise me to see a jump in the futures Sunday night. Now, do I think we sustain much past 6,500? No, I don't see it. I'm not saying we can't go up there and touch it. We never officially did. For me, it's tagged. We got 64.81. That's close enough. So, yeah, could we gap up and maybe challenge it? I think it's certainly possible, but I don't think that it has much staying power. I still think perhaps the Russell, again, not to pimp the Russell over and over, but if there's something that could hold for a day or two with a higher high, it's probably the Russell, because there's still some hedges up there at now 235, 240 for next week, and we're holding 225. As long as this holds above 225, it can go higher. And the Dow here looks like it's going to make a new all-time closing high, weekly closing high too. So it's right there. They love to get these things out of the way on a Friday, and yeah, market's all in euphoria mode here. 45K even on the diamond or on the Dow cash. But next week will be important, because going back to Feb, this is kind of the last time I felt this way, and it was right there on the 20th. And I just said, be careful here, because if we get any sort of dip or pullback, there's not going to be dealer support for the market. And next week, we have the Jackson Hole Symposium starting Wednesday through Friday. The big event will be Powell's speech Friday morning. If anything negative happens there's not going to be support for the market. So you can do with that information whatever you like. You guys know I don't fight the trend unless it gives me a reason to, but you have to look at the data here. So anyway, outside of that, market holding up fine. 64.50 is a pin, and we'll probably be in this range. I think Monday, Tuesday, the market will kind of be on the quieter side, unless we get that, some sort of news here. But I'm looking at oil right now, and I mean, you got an inside day here, so it's not like oil. It's not like the oil market's front running anything, and usually it does if there's something coming. So we'll see what happens here. Qs again reject at 580. But still in an uptrend here. Russell, we mentioned, backing off. We talked about the Dow. We'll quickly cover the semis and a few other things here. Semis down 2% again. I don't think it gets much past 300 right now. IGV up today, but it's had lower highs here for a few weeks. And I don't like the lower highs in the transports either. Really quickly, before I touch on UNH, if we look at the 2-year, so Michigan this morning was hot, just like PPI. So again, that may affect tone. We're going to get a 25 basis point cut in September, but that may affect tone next Friday. 2-year yield up. I don't like what I saw on the long end. So the long end looked good until yesterday, and then it got really weak really quick. There was probably the last 4 weeks, TLT was in very positive dealer hedging. It is not anymore, and it won't be for a little while. So my suspicion is there was a lot of people buying puts here, a lot of people short bonds. That decay started to help TLT get a bid closer to Opex with the last 2 days with that PPI, and then Michigan today was very weak. I did not think this would get below 87 this week, so that lost a big level. So that's sort of the case here. Let's talk UNH here, and we'll cover the rest. So obviously a big bid here, 13% gain. And if you'll recall, earlier in the year, at some point, I'm not sure if it was in a live stream or what, but I talked to you guys about how this stock all of a sudden stopped. Like dealers started getting blown out on it. This was very reliable. We were day trading this all late last year, and it would just go right to dealer levels and then reverse very, very reliably for a long time. They started getting blown out here, and I just thought it was interesting yesterday because this news came out. I believe it was right here, and it was a rumor, and then it came out as news, and then it got shot down. And this is something I look for. Some of the best trades I've ever had are exactly like this, where, in fact, this is the reason I bought it was because it went up. The rumor was, confirmed like false, and then it went up again. That tells me that the market made its mind up, right? Another example of that would be, remember when they released that fake report about the 90-day tariff pause right here? The market rallied up and then it pulled back. But notice how the next day it didn't make a new low. Why didn't do that? If the tariff pause was fake, then we should go back down, right? And then the next day it came out and we went higher. So the market made its mind up. So that actually got me into this. I wish I had bought more, but nonetheless, this was like the slowest. You can't even really call it a gamma squeeze. What's fascinating to me about this is I did a lot of digging on this, and when you see a big impulsive move, like I didn't think it was going to get through 300 because it squeezed for 40 minutes and only got to 297.50. When you see an impulse, like look at Meta, we'll just look at their earnings. Like that's an impulse, just like complete disregard for everything, 694 to 770, right? Complete disregard, right? UNH was like, just kind of slowly walked up and then little pullback and then it just kind of floated higher. It's very unusual to see that. Usually if there's like a big, if there's somebody being tipped off ahead of time, you'll see it in the dealer levels, and it was not there at all. And I'll show you right now. This just gets like stranger and stranger the more you look into it. 7-day IV at 5%, 30-day IV, or sorry, less than 5%, 30-day IV is at 5%, 60-day IV at 11%. This is as of last night, right? You can see the IVs here. There's no, this is as of last night here for today. Nothing above 300, hardly anything even at 300. This is next week, the week after. We can go up here, and even this morning. And by the way, I keep hearing about how, all the retailers, they're all in UNH. I don't see, where's the calls at? Where are they at? And by the way, I think retail is starting to get better than hedge funds at this point. Look at the short interest here. They all made fun of retail when we were buying in April, and all the hedge funds were short, and that didn't work out. But you can see, the IV, 7,000% gain on those calls. That's what happens. The IV right there just proves to you the market wasn't ready. There would have been an elevated IV. But you can see, it only just now 320 started coming into play. And there was really nothing there last night. So this was not a case of, okay, some whales are buying here. Maybe there was a little bit, but this was total blindside. Total blindside. And I think it's also interesting too, and this is why it's very dangerous to be short a blue chip stock that makes money. You can see here Buffett's shares, 5 million at 1.5, so average is around 311 for that buy, 312. Isn't there happen to be a failure to deliver on the 13th for 287,000? Now that's obviously there was way more shares than that, but massive failure to deliver at 311.38, closing price on the 13th, heavy volume, and then that kicked in on the 14th. So just very interesting stuff here. Again, this particular part does not really mean anything, but it is fascinating to me to be able to kind of do some digging here. And if nothing else, it's just market nerd stuff. But anyway, gapping above the 50 MA, that helped, probably some forced buying. It's a blue chip. And yeah, you don't want to be short because that's $89.5 million that person was on the hook for. And they got wrecked. So yeah, nonetheless, we've been talking about healthcare as a good area, possible rotation here. Love this setup here on the weekly. Spike down, close back above 250, and then look at that weekly candle. Another one doing nicely is Lilly too. I'm a little miffed that I didn't get in at 630. I was gonna put it on a starter, but we didn't. I thought maybe we could get to 600 for Opex on Friday. But nice rebound there. But anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. Interesting stuff going on. Looks like Microsoft taking a little bit of a spill here towards the end of the day. That'll get pinned to 520. See all these whole round numbers here. But anyway, let's get into commodities real quick. We'll talk about, so oil not really doing a ton. I mentioned that a minute ago, and I just don't think that, I guess we could get something, but the oil market's not saying it's happening. XLE up 2 cents, I think. Yeah, Exxon paid a dividend. XOP, OIH. Nothing doing there. Dollar, I don't know if this is Opex related, but this should be up with hot consumer and sentiment. So that's telling there's a divergence there. Gold, a little bit weaker this week, but GDX, still at, by the way, it's almost at all-time highs now. I know it's hard to believe. It's not that far off. So miners still holding up. Silver still has a nice weekly bull pattern, bull inside bar. Platinum still inside of a range. Volatility has really died out on that. And then palladium slipping 1100, and then maybe the 100 MA can help it before 1050. We got copper rallied early and then kind of just petered out a little bit. Bitcoin down on the day. Nasty engulfing yesterday, but as long as it holds like 116 and 115, 116, it can still hold up, but nasty. Look at this whipsaw here. You think that's a sell candle, then it closes above, then it reverses. Nasty whipsaw here. ETH just off all-time highs. I think that'll put in a higher low and try to challenge that later, maybe even this weekend. But anyway, this market's getting a little bit of a dip here. Let's not make too much out of it. This is noise. Next week, yeah, big stuff going on. It's not even that I'm going to say like, oh, Powell is, going to do or say anything so crazy, but it's just the fact that you won't have that zombie, like dealers don't need to buy it anymore. It's already at the destination. So that zombie dip or that zombie dip buy will kind of not be there to support things. Doesn't mean we have to go down either. Need confirmation, because I know some people in the comments will be like, oh, Aaron's calling for a crash, and nope, not calling for that. So anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up here. You guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you guys all on Monday.